What is going on, boys and girls of YouTube? Another video. End of the tier list breakdown is what we're going to go into. So make sure you hit the like button, make sure you subscribe. If you didn't see the other ones, I did the top tier one like 3 or 4 days ago, and then we did the A+ tier yesterday, and we're going to talk about the rest. So make sure you're subscribed, watch these videos. Let me know if this is what you want me to do with every tier list. I think just more information gets out this way without you having to watch a 2-hour long tier list video. So that's why I like doing it, breaking it down a little bit, separating everything. So I'm not going to cover A tier. Simple reason is A tier is just kind of like the baseline, right? Like that's good gods that are not over the top in any way, shape, or form, and are not underperforming in any way, shape, or form. And I just don't want to mess with them because I think it's pretty straightforward. Now, you guys, a bunch of the comments on the last video were, you do B and C tier. You want to understand why I have these where I do. And honestly, I think I like explaining the lower tier ones the most. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about it. We're going to get into it. We're going to start with B tier. Aphrodite's in B tier because of the fact that she can be counter played and counter picked and countered in general so easily. Antia will make her job very, very difficult. She is very immobile, so dive comps also do well into her. And the fact that to play her at even a decent level, everything has to be perfect, meaning your positioning has to be perfect, your use of abilities has to be perfect. You have to be linked to somebody who trusts you to use the ult correctly, so they're getting the most out of not using their beads or their Aegis or whatever it is. That is why Afro is where she is. Next, Artio. Artio is just a simple one. Doesn't do anything special in lane. Has a really bad team fight because she needs to be able to team fight for like 30 seconds straight. And in a lot of cases, a god like Artio, where you're not able to leave the actual team fight, like a Yorm or a Wukong, she's just being focused and targeted during that, initial 5 to 10 second team fight. So she never gets the second rotation of her abilities off. She tends to die in that first kind of combo. And that's why she is where she is. On top of, like I said, her laning phase is not good. She doesn't win lane. She doesn't bully anybody. She doesn't do anything special in the early game. Chalk. Almost the same thing, except for Chalk wins lane for a little while. His first level 1, 2, 3 can be kind of rough. Then he starts to win lane. The problem with Chalk is everyone wants to build damagey. They want to go Bluestone. They want to go Transcendent. So his healing and everything's doing a little bit more. But the problem is carrying that into the late game, he dies too fast. He doesn't do enough damage. He doesn't have enough CC, and he's honestly not annoying enough, despite the fact that they keep buffing his 3 to counter hunters. He's still not doing enough. His mid game is good once you start rotating out of the laning phase, but that is not enough to win you a game in Smite when all the games are going 40 minutes. So that's why he's here. Cthulhu is basic. His laning phase is okay. He's fairly safe when played right, but he's too easy to kill and too easy to target. He's a gigantic target. Everyone's going to hit you. There's a lot of gods that just make your life hell in terms of trying to play the game and survive once you ultimate, especially in the hyper late game. So that's why he's B tier. Cupid came back into the meta for like a month and then fell off again. Cupid doesn't compete with the AA build that's out right now, with the fact that Cupid's 3 doesn't give enough attack speed. It gives, I think it's like 20% or something. It gives a decent amount of attack speed, but it's not a stim similar to Artemis or Rama or even Hachi at this point. Like Hachi's just a way better Cupid. It's hard to be aggressive with Cupid with the ultimate because there's so many abilities in the game that completely cancel what Cupid's trying to do to them. So depending on your matchups, that starts to affect how useful Cupid is in team fights in the late game. The stun takes forever to go off, and then on top of that, the 1 just doesn't clear. The 1 is not enough clear currently. The heart bomb, I think they buffed it at one point and then it was too much, so they brought it back down, and that was, I don't know, the end of last year, the beginning of this year. But Cupid is underperforming. Dodgy, this is an interesting one, because Dodgy's been fairly good for a long time, almost Hun Bat's level, where she never really fell below A. But right now, there is something going on with her where auto attack canceling is bugged and not working properly, where you'll use an ability and you'll auto use an ability and try to auto again, and it just doesn't flow correctly. I don't know if Hi-Rez knows it's bugged. I hadn't played Dodgy in months. I played her and it fell off, and then I went out of my way to test it, and it's messed up. It's also something similar is happening to Uller with his ultimate, where you stance change and it causes the AA ability canceling with the 1 and 3 just to be off. I don't know why. I don't know what's happening. I don't know. It's a high risk thing, right? Gilgamesh, they nerfed him into the ground. He stopped performing in the solo lane. He doesn't win lane in solo lane. He doesn't have a crazy good team fight. He's nothing special in general. In the jungle, similar boat. You have to kind of go a hybrid build because of how long it takes him to get his damage off, because his burst damage is not as high as most of these other junglers, and he's just underperforming because of that. And then his team fight, his ult can be very disruptive, but it's not doing enough damage to be relevant in my opinion. Jingwei, she's fallen off because crit is not top of the meta. If Jingwei's in the game, you're probably getting a spectral against you, second, third item from the support, and then you really don't get to do as much. She's also not aggressive enough. There was a one-shot crit build that was being built for a little while with like hydras and stuff. It doesn't work the same when people have spectral, because you aren't one-shotting anyone when there's 1 or 2 spectrals in the game. Goomba, while he can be very annoying just as an individual god in your face, his team fight is weak. Most gods in the game right now that are meta do a ton of AoE damage, so they're always going to be breaking the mez. His peel is solid, but it's nothing special because that 1 second in the air is not going to make or break most team fights. They did add the cripple to his 2, which was nice, but he's not doing enough damage paired with having a cripple and having the 1. He's not winning the lane, so he's in B tier. Lancelot, this is one where a lot of people want to argue. And I could see Lancelot being moved up, so I'd be okay with you arguing it. The problem is full damage Lancelot has to be played perfect, pin perfect. There are very, very few people that play Lancelot perfectly as a full damage build. When Lancelot goes into a team fight to get off his whole kit, he's going to eat a lot of damage. It's just inevitable because everything in his kit is kind of slow. You have to 1 twice, slow. The 2 goes off with 2 animations, slow. When you're on the horse, you're not moving that fast in terms of like in your face fast. So you're able to be hit, able to be knocked off the horse, able to take damage. And on top of that, the 1 and the 2 off the horse are slow. The animations are just slow, so it's very easy to react to and turn and start hitting Lancelot. So with that being said, to play Lancelot at that level with a full damage build, you've got to move around and use your abilities to avoid so much damage that most people are not capable of doing it. So then they fall into a hybrid build, and hybrid build is probably better on Lancelot, but you're not doing enough damage, and you don't have enough hard CC to make the god hyper relevant. Can be played when it's a heavy mobility comp, so Lancelot's ult will cripple, which is solid in team fights for teams that want to move a lot, but there's a lot of mages and hunters that don't care. They'll just sit in it because they don't need to move. They just need to sit there and do damage. So that's why I have Lancelot here. Like I said, I could see the argument in today. Mercury, I messed up with his Mercury placement. So when they nerfed crit by buffing spectral, everyone was like, crit's dead. Hunters came back with AA builds, crit stopped being built, Mercury stopped being played, gods that were building crit just to exploit crit stopped building crit. So everyone's like, Mercury's dead, including me. I think I was wrong. I believe that Spectral's very annoying, but Mercury controls so much of the game through his autos and his crit, like Gold Furies, Pyros, Fire Giants. He burns faster than almost anybody in the game. That is enough of a reason for him to be relevant. And then as long as you're targeting away from the Spectral, so you're going on people that are not standing near the Spectral target, or you're waiting for people to be separated, or you're just poking and taking your time, it's still fine to run Mercury. Borderline, he probably should be A+. He probably should be up 2. I messed up on that one. That's my bad. Second reason, if you've seen, there's a bunch of people running split push Mercury right now. The build that I've seen is Bumba's into Bumba's Spear, because Bumba's Spear gives you 35% more damage to structure. So you hit towers 35% harder. They're going Golden Blade for clear. They are going Emperor's Armor, which slows down the attacks of the towers. And then they're going Dominance, Serrated, and Magi's, I believe. And the Magi's is so if anyone backs to stop them from split pushing, they can't be CC'd off of the Tower of the Phoenix. And then they're just running it down. They're running solo lane with that build and running it down and just split pushing the entire game, diving the towers with ults and with TP. So they'll drop a ward in the back, they'll TP to it, and then they'll just walk in. And you can take a tower of Phoenix with this, which is insane. So that alone and the gimmick side of that makes me, I would put him in A when paired with the fact that it's still Mercury, who's got the best farming in the game, who has the best mobility in the game in terms of map movement, not just like ability that moves around. Not, I'm talking circuit type movement. I'm talking about getting from one spot to the other between the ultimate and the quick movement speed. The 2, which is going to make you not be slow. The 3, which most people are using for movement and less for the CC in the first place. So that, I think Mercury should have been moved up. That placement was probably my bad, but I'm not going to move him up on here because he's already here. Neath is another one. So they dropped patch notes the other day, which buffed 3 ability hunter items. It was Crusher, brawlers, and another one, which ability hunters tend to build, especially when they're worried about their laning phase, because that brawlers comes into play with the anti-heal against the other hunters. But Neath has fallen off so far. I was like, there's no way. With the resurgence, if you've seen the Artemis ability build that I've been running, if you've seen Chiron being played again, Mercury is still top of the meta. These ability hunters are slowly creeping back in, and I think with those 3 item buffs, we're going to see Neath move up. Based on when I made this tier list, though, this was before that, she's just underperforming. She wasn't doing enough. She wasn't winning lane. She doesn't clear and stage. She doesn't have a crazy team fight. And her ultimate's good, but when Artemis can 3 for 1200 and Neath can ult for 1200, why wouldn't I just play Artemis? That's kind of how I was looking at it. But I think there is an argument to be made where Neath is going to be A tier probably. When I made this tier list, I should have put her in A tier, and with the item buff, she might move up to A+. She'll be played in mid mainly to have mid control when all of these mages are going to swap to this book build. They're going to start building tablet again. They're going to go Book of Thoth. You'll probably see some breastplates because it has mana on it be built. Having a Neath control the mid lane in terms of clear and then still be able to ult to the side lanes without rotating will make it very hard for these mages building that to play. And then Neath will also be able to split push. She won't have to rotate as much, so she'll be able to get that tower early and just gain a lot of control. So one, Neath is similar to Mercury. I probably should have moved it up. Odin, he's really not good at all right now. His laning phase is bad. His ultimate has been gutted. I remember back, if you didn't play back in the day, Odin's ult used to not be killable. It used to last like 6 seconds. The only way out was through leaping. And I'm pretty sure it slowed everyone's attack speed in it on top of it. So now when you leave Odin's cage, if the walls are up, you take a little bit of damage. It isn't a significant amount. If the walls get autoed 5 or 6 times, it dies. So you can get out of it very easily. I think ever since then, we've known Odin was going to fall off. But now the fact that his damage is really hindered, his lane clear is not that good, he's not going to out clear, out pressure anyone in lane, that it's very difficult to play him. And the only time you're really going to pull him out is for the anti-heal and the ult. And if they have a super immobile team, which is just very rare right now. Osiris, the lowest win rate in the game. It's that simple. He literally has the lowest win rate in ranked in the game, 42%. He's 0.1% below King Arthur, and then the 2 of them are like way below the next person. So, like, what else do I gotta say? He doesn't win. He doesn't have a good team fight. He doesn't have hard CC on command. His poke is not as high. He's not tanky enough for a lot of these hunters and mages in the late game. So he is where he is. Scotty, not a safe hunter. Way too easy to be dove. The best I've seen Scotty do is with a very tanky build, with Warrior's Axe, with an Archdruids, with like 1 damage item, which is just mind-boggling that it even works. But that's the best I've seen Scotty do, because you can't dive her when she's that tanky. That's her problem. She doesn't play like a normal hunter. She doesn't win lane. She doesn't out 1v1 people. She really has to find a way to survive, and she struggles to do so. Surtur, after his first 6 to 7 levels, where he stomps the lane those first 6 or 7 levels, he falls off. His ultimate is not relevant enough to be scared of most of the time in team fights. His CC is on too long cooldowns and doesn't hit hard enough. While he's very frustrating to deal with in a one-on-one scenario where he's running one person down, in team fight scenarios where people are grouped, he just dies. He doesn't have AoE CC. He doesn't have enough damage or AoE damage. He doesn't have enough pressure or control. He's just not doing it, so he's B tier. The Morrigan, they nerf mage items, so it's a lot harder to one-shot with the Morrigan, where Morrigan would usually stealth in, try to one-shot a squishy, and then swap into a tank and survive. She doesn't one-shot as easily now, and that's why she is where she is, and it's that simple. Ullr, as I talked about with Neath, ability hunters were underperforming really heavily when they nerfed all the power items that these gods built. So the mace is basically Heartseeker was another big one. Heartseeker, it was not possible to hit the damage cap on the item because you had to have a high, it was like 400 power to hit the max amount of percent damage from Heartseeker. You couldn't hit it. It wasn't possible. I believe they changed it with this last patch where it's 350 now. It's easier to hit, way easier to hit. Or at least get closer to that cap to get more power and more damage out of the Heartseeker. That's going to make Neath do better and Ul do better in general. But when this patch was the patch we were on when I made this tier list, Ul just couldn't one-shot. Even full build where Ul used to be the most scary hunter in the world, you get axe comboed, you're dead. That you could not one-shot on Ul for the longest time. And I'm thinking with the buff to the items that they're making, with the Brawlers, the Crusher, and the Heartseeker, we're going to see these hunters do better. So they'll probably move up, but that's why he is where he is currently. Vamana, they killed his ult. So he fell off. He's worthless. Xbalanque, not enough lane pressure, no hard CC, doesn't auto hard enough or have attack speed stim to really make the most out of these AA pen builds, the normal build. Xbalanque just can't min-max that. That's why he's B tier. Jean-Qui, this is the one I don't process why people are struggling to understand this. So the big argument was when power got nerfed on all the items in the game. Jean-Qui's tanky. So in his kit, he gets defense for his passive. He just gets extra defense. Like it's like 40 of each defense. People say, well, he's tanky, so he's really good and he one-shots. He doesn't one-shot. When the mage items change, he didn't one-shot. Now, I'm not saying with the book build that's going to start being built, he won't be better because, like I said, there's probably going to be a lot more to gain from the breastplate and being in the fights longer. Just slow, it's not as much burst, but it's over time, it's a lot of damage. But we aren't there yet. We're talking about current, and when I made this tier list, Jean-Qui does not one-shot, does not do enough damage. His ult is not scary, and he's inherently tanky. It's not enough. In the hyper late game, that defense is irrelevant. No mage or hunter feels defense once you're at the 40-minute mark. And every single game is going 40 to 45 minutes. I've played, I don't even know, 23k MMR games in the past 2 weeks, and all of them are going 40 to 45 minutes. If not, I had one at 63 minutes. I had one at 53 minutes. There's a lot of late games that are going on, and Jean-Qui is not doing it in that. It's not happening. So that's B tier. C tier, AMC. I hate AMC because in ranked, you get dove and you die. Warriors and assassins kill AMC like it's nothing, and that's why he is where he is. If you are in a perfect scenario where your team sits around you and you play really slow and you can poke and all that stuff, AMC could be played. And with the ability hunters being buffed, I could see him being played even easier, but I don't think it's a smart or consistent choice in any world. Lona, someone commented on the tier list and complained about Lona. Said, haven't you seen Lona one-shot people? That does not happen. All of the ability warriors are underperforming and some of the lowest win rate gods in the game. So whatever belief you have about Lona or Osiris being good, you're completely wrong. Factual, statistically, you are wrong. They are underperforming. They don't win lane. They don't bully anybody. They don't bully hunters right now. They don't bully mages right now. They don't dive and one-shot anybody. That does not happen. Assassins are not worried about them because most assassins that are performing high right now and played consistently are ability assassins. Bologna's just not doing it. In a meta where hunters are crazy OP, usually Bologna would be solid, but it's not the case because every god in the late game is doing a lot of damage. So that's why Bologna's there. Medusa. Medusa is simple. The ultimate is too easy to avoid the hard CC, and the 3 on her is worthless for disengaging. It's too easy to block, so Medusa is never safe, which makes her insanely difficult to play at all in Smite, and it's been that way for the past couple of months. The only time she did just get a buff in this patch, which helps her clear a little bit, but the only time she's really, really good is when she does so much inherent, like just damage that's gonna happen no matter what, that she's viable. She doesn't even take the top of the meta. She's viable in those scenarios where she's just doing too much damage to deal with because she's always never safe, which makes her a risky pick. Nuwa, that ultimate, while it's very annoying in general looking at it, it doesn't do enough. It's nowhere near enough damage from a mage in the late game. It is nowhere near enough onto the main target you're killing because it's going to put all those all those item procs on abilities, so your Soul Reaver and all that stuff, into the tankier targets instead of the squishy ones that you want to kill. And then around all of that, she's not safe. Her movement is her one, and it's not that good. They did, I think they buffed her in the last patch. I think. I don't remember exactly what, but I think they buffed her in the last patch. So we'll see how that changes. You never really know what's going to happen with these. While a god can be buffed and on paper it sounds really good, that doesn't mean it's going to impact her enough in the meta to change anything. Plus with meta shifts, if we see book builds coming out, like kind of already is starting to happen, and you see breastplates become relevant, Nua's probably not going to be that good in those situations. Persephone, she's been underperforming forever. Her team fight's not good. Her ultimate's not enough. It got nerfed a while ago, and even before that, it wasn't enough. It's too hard to be consistent with her damage. There are very few people who really even know how to position and use the abilities to min-max their damage in the first place, so she's underperforming. Tsukiyomi's another one where people got mad and argued the whole time. Tsukiyomi's best abilities is 3 because it lasts 25 minutes. His 1... Frontline are going to stop you from landing that 1 all day. It's super, super simple in team fights. You're not going to land that 1 when people are doing even a remote version of their job. Your 2 is always going to get interrupted, and your ultimate doesn't do enough damage to kill somebody. That's my biggest issue, is the fact that ultimate's damage has been nerfed so many times that it just feels like trash. I hate it. Not only that, it doesn't do enough damage. It drops you in right into the middle of the team fight at the end of it. So you're out of position. and you probably didn't kill somebody because the ult does no damage. So I hate Tsukiyomi. That's why he's C tier. They should probably revert his 2 to be knock-up immune, and they need to up the damage on the ultimate to make him relevant again, in my opinion. The problem is, if you do that, he becomes a better side laner, either an ADC or a solo laner, than a jungler, which is just weird. They're going to have to do something about that if they ever buff him too much. Last and definitely least is Ymir. He's worthless. He doesn't outpressure most of the Guardians in the game, which used to be his thing back in the day. He was a high pressure, high risk, high reward Guardian. So you're not getting those early kills you used to get. The wall is not annoying enough to win you matches, especially with how open they made the jungle pathing. His 3, while yes, you can walk up and stun somebody, you'll die during that time. It's very easy to step away and dodge it. It's also very easy to CC Ymir while he's trying to land that stun. And then on top of that, once you hit the 30-minute mark, if you walk up to stun somebody, if they have Magi's or beads, they're going to beads and insta-kill you, or their teammate's going to insta-kill you. You die too fast. You stand still for too long. They need to do some quality of life adjustments to Ymir to remove the delay on his stun, because it has like an overall like cast out, to remove the delay on the 2 because it has the overhand slam cast out. It just takes too long for those 2 to go off, and he needs to be able to move in his ultimate. If they did those 3 things, you'd probably see him performing a better, not a lot better. I don't think he'd be the top Guardian, but I think he'd be a relevant Guardian in that situation. So that's B and C tier, and I also explained why I wasn't going to go over A tier. If you have any questions, put them in the comments below. I'll try to answer and help you guys understand whatever it is that you want to know. If there's something about a god, you want to bring up, that's fine. I'm about it. Just don't yell at me for not having your favorite god in your favorite tier. It's just pointless. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you in the video tomorrow, the next day, and the next day.